don't know if they wanted money or they wanted something more sexual.
Illinois concealed carry licensees, I have a question for you. Can you shoot somebody in the back? If you answered no to that, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. You absolutely 100% can shoot somebody in the back. It's when they actually decide to retreat from the situation and they are no longer posing a threat and it's no longer necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm that gets misconstrued. I can't go chasing after some crackhead after they pull a knife out on me. I draw my gun, crackhead goes, ah, and takes off running. I go start to blast him in the back like Frank Reynolds in Always Sunny.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang! Well, I don't see so good, so I missed. Then they ran away. I ran after them.
Okay.
Bang! Try to shoot him in the back. But I don't want so good either. Anyway, you guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
You can't do that. However, just like this video is going to show you guys here in just a second, you absolutely 100% can shoot people in the back when they are a threat, and I highly encourage you to do so because this is what's going to give you the greatest tactical advantage possible. One little side note to this. You must know what your draw times are from the concealed carry position if you actually want to be capable of defending yourself in a real life threatening situation. Without just rolling the dice and hoping 50-50 that you make it through. That's not the time to be doing it. So for example, here in this video, what you're going to see is a full 2-second ability to draw before the criminal even has any clue whatsoever that this is even going on. Probably could have pushed 2.5. So if you have less than a 2.5 second draw when it comes to pulling your weapon out from the concealed carry position, and this guy was sitting, which does take into account a couple of other factors, then you would have been able to make the shot. If you can't, it's important for you to know this because you would have been fuddling around with your gun so long that they would have turned around and seen you. Let's watch this video. We'll talk about it. So here you've got this guy getting his hair cut when 2 armed gunmen come up in there holding the place up. And now keep in mind, his kids are also over in the waiting spot. This dude's got an Elmer Fudd shotgun. Now watch, this guy goes, pulls his draw, ends up getting multiple shots off on the target. Know your target, consider the foreground and background guys. There was somebody behind him. Falls down on the chair. He turns around to then start shooting at the other guy. But look, that guy gets right back up. Lots of things going on in this video here. Let's take note of a few of them. One is he waited for his opportunity to when he can actually draw his weapon. So 2 gunmen come up, guns pointed in my face. Hey, maybe this isn't the time I try to draw my gun because it's like a 0.6 second draw to shot on target. I'm not trying to play those odds. One dude over here with an Elmer Fudd shotgun. This dude right here with a handgun. Sometimes in life, guys, you're just going to be in a barber's chair getting a steam towel put on your face when gunmen come walking in the door, and you might just be got. That's okay. When you're in that situation, recognize it, know the limitations of your abilities, and then try to circumnavigate those troubled waters. Now the dude goes, turns his back to the guy again, and this hence is where we talk about shooting somebody in the back. That is a perfect opportunity right there. Because what the law in Illinois says is that you can use the use of force, which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm, only if you reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or another or the commission of a forcible felony. All of that is currently taking place right here. Harm to himself, harm to others, and the commission of a forcible felony are all being met in terms of criteria. Just because his back is turned to you doesn't mean you need to wait for him to turn around just so you can shoot him. So I reiterate, yes, you 100% can shoot people in the back as long as they are in the act of performing some sort of behavior that is intended or likely to cause imminent death or great bodily harm to you, another, or you are preventing the commission of a forcible felony. Another example for this is if I walk up on a woman and she's being raped, can I literally walk up behind the guy who's raping her and shoot him in the back of the head? The answer is yes, because if she would be able to use justified deadly force in defense of herself, but can't for whatever reason, incapacitated or doesn't have the means to, I by way of proxy or you by way of proxy can use it for them. So realize that. You can absolutely 100% walk up behind a guy who's raping a chick and shoot him in the back of the head. Now, am I executing him? No. Am I executing this guy in the video? No. I am just stopping the threat. That is it. Do I want him to die? No. Do I care if he dies? No. I'm completely neutral and objective. My only goal in that moment as an anti-violence advocate is to just stop the harm being done or to prevent the harm that I reasonably believe is about to be conducted. That's it. So now if this dude, for example, after he gets shot a few times, like let's say here, picked up and just started running out, because he didn't. He actually started shooting back, which highlights a whole bunch of other stuff here. This is just a bad situation in general, but I think this guy did the right thing. If he picks up and starts running, or let's say the other guy who had the Elmer Fudd shotgun, he goes booking out the door. If I go chasing him down and I just start blasting away trying to catch after him, that is when I become the aggressor. That is when it is unacceptable. So for example, let me see if I can actually find this video here really quick. So right here, walking with the family. These guys roll up. Gunfight breaks out. Totally justified. But now, where does it become unjustified is here. Where he goes running after them, chasing after them to shoot them down. Guys, there's necessity and then there's ego. Be aware of which one is driving your behaviors. I get it. I would definitely want to shoot somebody if they just put me through that situation also. But you have to be operating within the confines of legalities within the state, and hence that you are currently present. So that brings us to another point. Stand your ground versus duty to retreat laws. A lot of people think because Illinois is not a legislative stand your ground state, meaning there's no law actually written that says, hey, we are stand your ground state, that we are automatically a duty to retreat state. Duty to retreat states are states where you must make every attempt possible to remove yourself from the situation, i.e. a knife or a gun being pulled on you, which I think is insane. You have to try to retreat before you could actually use deadly force against them. They have to chase you down, corner you, and then you could use deadly force. If you have an Illinois concealed carry license, there's at least 2 states I know of that have duty to retreat clauses, and that is the state of Minnesota and the state of Nebraska. Minnesota kind of surprised me, not really. Nebraska, what the hell? That's kind of a little confusing. Illinois is not a duty to retreat state. So as long as you are legally present wherever it is that you are, whether it be private property or out in public, as long as you're there and you are a lawful carrying concealed carry licensee and somebody comes up to you and they perform a set of actions or behaviors, or they make a set of threats and gestures in which you then therefore reasonably believe that you have to defend yourself now, it's necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. For great bodily harm, think of broken bones, fractured skull, things like that, kidnapping, rape, then you absolutely 100% have the right to defend yourself. Where it gets even more confusing is that stand your ground, Illinois is a stand your ground state. Just because it's not written into the legislation doesn't mean that it hasn't been deemed one based off of case precedent. Case precedent means that off of the findings of the court over past cases that have been tried, it has been determined that Illinois is a case precedent, stand your ground state. Well, what's that mean exactly? What's the difference between a legislative and a case precedent, stand your ground state? Legislative like Florida, case precedent like Illinois. Well, in Illinois, it's up to you, the defendant, the victim, who has to justify your actions to show that they were in accordance with the law. So going back to our barbershop scenario here, if I was to shoot this guy in the back and afterwards the police show up, they arrest me, the prosecution's probably going to go for detention, but I've got a great attorney. That's one of the benefits of being a member of the JAM training community. So I'll probably get out because I was justified in doing what I did, but they're going to say, why'd you shoot him in the back? Now, it's not my job to explain this, my attorney's job to explain it, but the justification here as to why my actions were in accordance with the law is because I believed reasonably that I was preventing imminent death or great bodily harm to either me or others in the building. It's pretty reasonable to think and believe that people running up into a barbershop with a gun, pointing it at people, making threatening gestures and making threatening comments are willing to use it. And so, therefore, I'm going to defend myself and the people around me. In a traditional stand your ground state, that wouldn't even be asked of me. The prosecution would have to come up with some overwhelming evidence saying, oh, look, he did all this crazy stuff and provoked him and chased him down and, executed him on the sidewalk. We have a case here against him. So then it would get put to a grand jury. I think that's the process, grand jury. Anyways, I'm not too sure. I'm getting out of my pay grade now. But point is that the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to show that you did something wrong. Whereas in a case precedent stand your ground state like Illinois, the burden of proof lies upon you to prove that you acted within the totality of the law. So what are your thoughts? Would you prefer to shoot somebody in the back, or would you wait for them to turn around? It's all about reasonable belief, guys, and that's what the law literally says verbatim. It's the use of force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm only if you reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or another, or prevent the commission of a forcible felony. That's it. And so everything else is just a bunch of noise, and it gets muddled. And when somebody's breaking into your house and you see them in your kitchen or in your hallway, you don't need to wait for them to turn around and confirm or deny they have a weapon. The question is, do you reasonably believe that you are using the force that is necessary in order to prevent imminent death, great bodily harm, or the commission of a forcible felony? That is all I have to say about that here today. You can shoot people in the back, and I highly encourage you to do so. And if you want to get good at doing it, defending yourself and others, if you want to get good at utilizing your weapon from the holster, then that is exactly what JM Training and the Lethality University are all about. Positive mindset, anti-violence advocates, and we train hard for real-world scenarios because it's all derived from my experience and experience of others, but predominantly I created this whole thing out of my time from being a MARSOC Marine. So reach out, guys, if you want to get good at it. We're in the Will County, Frankfort area. Love to train with you all. Mission is to train 4% of the population because that's critical mass theory. See what happens. Hopefully we could have some impact on crime.